Namaskar. Welcome to this Krishi Darshan program. My dear farmers, many of you have written letters to us for asking about the details about makhana cultivation process. For this purpose, we have invited two agricultural scientists, Dr. S.N. Jha and Dr. M.S. Sajib, who are with us in the studio and will be telling us about the scientific method of makhana cultivation and its processing technique. Welcome, Dr. Jha. Welcome, Dr. Sajib. Dr. Jha, we find that makhana is still not so popular in our country. Could you tell us what it is makhana and how it is being grown in other countries and what are its uses?
Actually, makhana is an aquatic fruit being grown in ponds, lakes, ditches of eastern and northeastern states of India. Its wild populations are also available in China, Japan, Taiwan, Bangladesh and North America. It is very nutritious product and it contains moisture 13%, carbohydrates 77%, protein 10% and other materials like calcium, phosphorus, irons and a negligible amount of fats. It is consumed in various forms like puddings from milk-based cereals and then the pudding from milk-based cereals and snacks, vegetables, curry preparations. Besides, it is also being used in our Vedic oblations like religious rituals and Shraddha. And it is also a very good source of a start for textile industries.
As Dr. Jha had mentioned that the makhana is being grown in several other countries. Dr. Sajib, would you please tell us and our farmers about its cultivation technique?
Yes, makhana is grown in shallow water ponds about 1.5 to 2.5 meter depth. Generally, it is broadcast in the month of November, December at a rate of 90 to 100 kg per hectare if it is dry yearly or 30 kg per hectare if it is annually. Fertilizer or manure application is not required, but weeding is necessary for 4 or 5 times before the pond is covered with full of leaves. And when the fruits ripen, we can collect the seed for further processing.
Dr. Jha, since makhana is being cultivated in the ponds, so it must be a very tedious and painstaking job to harvest it from the ponds. Could you please elaborate that how it is harvested from the ponds?
Yes, the makhana harvesting is very tedious and painstaking job. The experienced fisherman crawls under the water and sweeps the seed from the pond and collect it in a heaps formed inside the water. Later they collect it by the special made contrivances made of bamboo strips. The collected seeds are threshed by feet at the pond banks and then thoroughly washed. The cleaned and washed seeds are brought home for further processing.
As the discussion reveals, it seems that it is not a so costly job, but it is a hardly and laborious job, which certainly requires certain job skills. The most important factor being the processing of seeds. So, Dr. Sajib, please tell us how it could be stored and what are its processing technique.
Yes, seeds should be processed as soon as possible because the longer storage period causes spoilage of the seed besides affecting the quality of makhana. Generally, traditional methods are following, which includes various operations like sun drying to a moisture content of about 33%. Then we are grading the seed into 5-6 categories depending upon the sizes. Then we are going for the heating of the seeds in earthen or cast iron pan with continuous stirring to reduce the moisture content to a level of 25%. Then these heated seeds are tempered for 40 to 60 hours. And again we are heating in the cast iron pan with a single layer. Then we will go for, then the cracking sound is heard from the pan. We are taking some of the seeds from the pan and sudden impact force is applied. So as soon as the hard shell of the seed breaks, then this kernel pop out in an expanded form, which is locally known as our makhana. Then we will go for polishing to increase the luster of this thing by some rubbing action in a bamboo split baskets. Then again we are grading to 2-3 categories and it will ready for marketing.
It seems that this whole process is such a painstaking and tedious job. It also involves drudgery from cultivation point of view. Dr. Jha, could you please elaborate how these problems could be overcome and is there any development in this direction?
Yes, this problem can only be removed by developing some kind of machinery. Recently, the scientist of Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, has developed one machine which processes makhana of about 25 to 30 kg per hour, which gives nearly 8 to 10 kg of processed makhana in an hour. This machine also removes all the drudgery of the operation involves and reduces the processing time from 45 hours of traditional method to about 23 hours of scientific method. I hope this machine will help a lot to the makhana processor for building of their economic conditions.
Now I think our time is approaching towards the end, and I hope that this knowledge about scientific cultivation and processing technique of this makhana crop will certainly help our farmers to a great extent. I am very much thankful to the scientists present in our studio. Thank you, Dr. Jha. Thank you, Dr. Sachin.
Thank you.
My dear farmers, you must have enjoyed this program to a great extent. I hope if you are having any further queries or details, you would be certainly writing to us for knowing about the details. Please be with us in the next Krishi Darshan program. Till then, goodbye.
Good afternoon, friends. Today I am going to tell you something about extension education. Since I belong to this discipline and I have qualified in ARS by taking this discipline alone, that was my discipline was agricultural extension. This term extension education was first used way back in 1873 in England. There this term was used for such type of university education which was provided to the people who were not able to come to the campus itself, and so the university teachers and students or research workers, they were going to the people where they were living and working so that they could be educated. Later on, after nearly 20 years of its first use in England, the term agriculture extension became widespread in USA, and so on afterwards this term agriculture extension as well as extension education have become synonymous. Even nowadays, the third term, that is agricultural communication, it is also being used as a synonym of this extension education or agricultural extension. In general, extension education means this term comprises both adult education and informal education, which is meant for the farmers, for the homemakers, so that they could be helped in bringing about a good quality of life by this, so that they would be able to know how to raise crop in a better way, how to take care of their crop cultivation, fruits, vegetables, animals, then to teach the women about nutritional health aspects, then how to rear their children in a better way like that, so that the home management activities could be also simultaneously done in a better way. Then the concern of areas of extension generally implies for agriculture extension, then veterinary and animal husbandry extension, agricultural engineering extension, home science extension, and sometimes it is also used in case of industry extension. Then actually the basic confusion most of us, most of our colleagues are also having, that whether extension education could be termed as science or arts. But let me clarify at this stage that extension education is basically an applied behavioral science, and it could be called as social science also. Rather, it is a science only because this discipline is using a lot of scientific methods and techniques to arrive at any conclusion or results. So that's why we can call it as a science also, but moreover it is basically a social science, and still more especially the applied behavioral science. It has got good relationship with certain other social science disciplines like sociology, psychology, economics, ethics, political science, then home science, journalism, etc. The philosophy behind extension is that it is a continuous process, continuous educational process, which is a never-ending one. It can't stop at any particular moment. It believes in the theory of helping the people, helping the farmers, helping the clientele to help themselves. Then it again encourages the farmers to learn by doing something so that they can learn in a better way. Then it also incorporates the theory of seeing by believing, believing by seeing on that. Then it is meant for bringing about some changes in their day-to-day life activities, whether it may be concerned with their knowledge, their attitude, their skill, etc. Then regarding the principles, there are certain principles we apply in extension educations, like principles based on needs and interest, the clientele needs and interest, principles based on grassroots organization, then principle of cultural differences, then principle of cultural changes, then principle of leadership, principle of trained specialists, principle of whole family inclusion, then principle of satisfaction, etc. The things which which are being provided, rather the offerings being done by the extension, includes information which may be in the form of recommendations, instructions, advices, or goods which may be in form of inputs, or services like helping the farmers to process or to get the loans from banks, like that. At last I can say that extension education is just not an extension. It is an intimate part of an whole entity, which is, and this force is a very dynamic in nature, where that's why it has been successful in establishing a healthy and deep-rooted relationship with majority of the biological and social sciences, and which provides an excellent opportunity, an excellent example of inter or multidisciplinary approaches which is being used in scientific research methodologies. Thank you.